The painting is a celebration of love and springtime. Included among the deities are the three graces, who take the form of three very pretty women. Love, beauty, and chastity are shown dancing together. They look elegant and gentle, the epitome of femininity, though some detect a hint of sadness in their expressions. Such things, of course, are open to interpretation, which is what the artist had surely intended. The viewer might read their own feelings in the eyes of the women and be led to reflect on their life choices. Or they might aspire to emulate the grace of such figures, to be sweeter, gentler, more thoughtful, or compassionate. Many of the artists at work during this time were exceptionally skilled in bringing figures to life. Take Raphael's stunning fresco on the walls of the Apostolic Palace in Vatican City. The School of Athens depicts a gathering of ancient thinkers with Aristotle and Plato at the center. Captured in motion and dressed in colorful tunics, the figures stand out against a backdrop of white marble. You see every emotion across their faces, their passion, concentration, reverence, and curiosity. Indeed, you can almost hear their lively debate echoing through the massive marble building. The artwork allows us to see philosophy through the eyes of Raphael, not as something abstract from the distant past, but as something fresh and vibrant and still important today. Raphael's philosophers have the glow of celebrity. This might inspire people studying the painting, encouraging similar reflection and deeper thinking. In a way, Renaissance artists like Raphael advertised philosophy through their artworks. Christianity received a similar treatment. The virtues of the religion were promoted through art. Bellini's triptych in the Frari Church in Venice showcases this in 3 separate panels. Encased within an opulent gold frame, saints are depicted to the left and right. In the central panel, we see the Virgin Mary on a throne. The infant Christ is nestled on her lap, while baby angels play music at her feet. By the time the painting was completed in 1488, there were countless other works depicting this scene. Yet, arguably, none had the humanity that Bellini gave them. In previous depictions, the figures were stiff, almost wooden. Madonna and Child seemed somewhat out of reach. But through Bellini's painting, one can connect with the young mother caring for her child. All things considered, it might seem rather miraculous that so many great talents lived at the same time and place. Consider the names involved in just one building, like St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City. Bramante, Michelangelo, Maderno, and Bernini were just a few of the artists and architects who contributed to the basilica. It's possible that such genius exists in every age, but not every age knows how to make use of it. The great talents of the Renaissance were invested in and rewarded, and they were driven by a sense of meaning through a shared purpose and mission. This was true beyond fine art and architecture in fields like music and composition. Famed composers like Josquin des Prez were said to view their talent as a divine loan, a loan that could be repaid through service to God. They would use their skills to make the world sound sweeter. The Renaissance gave us many great composers, like the Elizabethan Englishman William Byrd, who has been called the father of British music, and the Italian Giovanni Pierluigi da Palestrina, perhaps the greatest composer of the Catholic Church. Gutenberg's invention of the printing press in the mid-1400s had allowed the widespread distribution of written music. This led to the emergence of a common musical language, shared across musicians of different countries and cultures. No doubt, this accelerated other advancements, like the composition of solely instrumental music and the world's first operas. Another innovation was polyphonic music, which was popular in the Renaissance. This kind of music features two or more voices or instrumental parts, with independent melodies that interconnect. The printing press was key to other advances too, in theology, philosophy, literature, and science. At a time when societies were greatly polarized through class, it gave more people access to knowledge and ideas. The Renaissance was an era of countless polymaths who excelled across multiple disciplines. Leonardo da Vinci, for example, was able to combine his talents and use his artistic skill to illustrate scientific findings. He conducted experiments ranging from the study of aerodynamics to medical dissection. He also made observational drawings of newly discovered plants and drew designs for various inventions. Some have called the Renaissance a scientific revolution because it was a time when people began to question certain truths. It marked the transition between the medieval and modern age and laid the foundations for modern thinking. Galen's long-held theory of the four humors, for instance, didn't seem to match up with real-life observations. It would soon be replaced with the work of Vesalius, a physician from Brussels. His books revealed the mysteries of human anatomy. Everything was called into question, even the world itself, as Europeans progressed through an age of exploration. From Columbus's first voyage to the Americas in 1492, the global map would be continuously changed. New routes opened up to faraway places, exposing Europeans to cultures very different from their own. There were developments in mathematics, astronomy, and physics, in biology, geology, botany, and so much more. Figures like Galileo and Copernicus would lay the foundations for a new scientific era. At the same time, the Renaissance changed the face of religion and signaled the beginnings of the Protestant Reformation. It produced well-known theologians like Martin Luther and John Calvin, who were inspired by humanist ideals. This caused them to question Catholic teachings. Up until then, it had been widely accepted that access to salvation came through the sacraments and clergy. But as the church's greed and corruption were exposed, many began to question this view. In line with the principles of Renaissance humanism, people began to take a more active role in their religion. They felt that they could live a good and virtuous life in order to secure their eternal salvation. Paintings which humanized Christ and the Virgin Mary likely made people feel closer to the divine. And Bible passages, now printed in languages other than Latin, broke down the barriers between God's Word and man. The effects of this change rippled outwards across the continent. Though, of course, the Renaissance was different in each place it landed, as it merged with local cultures and ideas. Hungary, in Eastern Europe, had a close relationship with Florence and Italy. It was one of the earliest places in which the Renaissance flourished, in the form of castles, fine art, poetry, and print. The court of King Matthias in the capital Buda was home to many creatives and intellectuals. The castle itself had a magnificent garden and blended Gothic styles with the best of the Renaissance. The king's enormous library held one of the largest collections of secular works on the entire continent. Scholars came to Buda to consult books on philosophy, history, science, and medicine. Meanwhile, in France, Catherine de' Medici played an important role. Having married the Dauphin in 1533, she brought Florentine style to the French court. She bolstered a movement that was already spreading in French writing, music, and artistic disciplines. Every bit a daughter of the Medici, she made her mark in great buildings and fine artwork. Catherine filled her palace with sculptures and tapestries and had the walls covered with paintings. She was renowned for her fabulous court entertainment, including dance performances that led to the founding of ballet. In England, the main focus was on music and literature, the latter evolving into theater on the stage. Another product of the Renaissance was William Shakespeare, thought by many to be the greatest English writer. Queen Elizabeth I herself was said to have admired performances of his early plays. Elsewhere, a new kind of music was being produced. The Franco-Flemish school, also known as the Netherlandish school, became synonymous with the polyphonic style that spread across the continent. In Spain, the Renaissance led to great works of literature like Miguel de Cervantes' epic Don Quixote. In Portugal, the spirit of the age was reflected in epic poems. The Lusiads, a work by Luis de Camões, recounts a mythologized voyage to India. Outside of fiction, Portugal also made major advancements in sea travel and map making. And in many parts of Europe, living conditions improved as cities grew and profited from greater trade. Following the Black Death in the 14th century, the lower classes had seen an upturn in fortunes. Across the continent, wages and work opportunities improved. It's less clear whether the Renaissance made a tangible difference to the day-to-day lives of working men and women. Perhaps not, but even so, it's impossible to imagine the world without it. The Renaissance shaped culture far beyond Italy, across every field of the arts and every academic discipline. In the beginning, many key figures of the movement were driven by a purpose: to recreate the beauty of Greco-Roman times. The Renaissance then became something even greater, leaving us with countless buildings and artworks, as well as music, plays, and a whole lot more. But ultimately, perhaps the most enduring legacy of the movement is this: it laid the foundations of modern thinking. The Renaissance gave us the freedom to reflect, to ask questions and seek meaning, and to dream beyond perceived limitations.